Hi, welcome back to the channel. This video is a quick update to provide you with the latest situation on the AI shares experiment. So this is basically where I'm following some suggested picks that have been picked out by artificial intelligence run on the investing.com database. They have a huge database of all of the companies that are listed all around the world. And from that database, artificial intelligence is selecting the stocks that it believes will beat the market. So, if you've been following the channel, you'll know that as of the start of January, these were the shares that were selected. So, I invested the current amount of the total portfolio into these shares. So, I started off with $100,000. And over the course of September, October, November, and December, that had increased to $110,809. So that represented an increase of 10.8% in 4 months, which is pretty good. If I was to annualize that, if I carry on at this rate, then obviously you'd have three times that. You'd be looking at around about 30 to 35% growth, possibly even as high as 40% with the compounding. However, it all depends on what happened in January. So if we look at the final position for January, you can see that the total portfolio increased by 1.8%. So the total value of the invested money is now up to $112,811. So an increase of 12.8%. And I think what's important to note here is that the reason why I'm investing into a portfolio is because you don't really know what's going to happen with any one individual share. As you can see from all of the shares that were picked out in January, some of them went up quite considerably. So you can see that advanced auto parts increased by 24.5% in the month. However, some of them also fell in value quite significantly. So Insight Enterprise was down by 16.9%. So that really shows you the risks that are involved if you're investing into one individual stock. If something comes out in the news or it releases some results or something negative happens in that particular sector, then you can see the value of your investment falling quite significantly. But the benefit here is that investing into a variety of different shares gives you a little bit of portfolio protection. But the good news is that it went up by 1.8% in the month. And obviously, over a 12-month period, that would represent a growth, if I was to carry on at 1.8% per month, of more than 20%. So this is really quite impressive. Now, if we have a look at how 1.8% compares to the markets in January, because that's what the artificial intelligence is attempting to do to beat the markets, you can see that the portfolio I invested into did better than the Nasdaq, which was up by 1% in January. It also did better than the S&P 500, that was up by 1.2%. However, it underperformed against the New York Stock Exchange, which was up by 2.2%, and the FTSE 100 in London was up by 2.7%. But overall, the 1.8% result was pretty decent. Now, if we have a look at the performance since I started this experiment, which was the beginning of September. So we've now got September, October, November, December, and January. So 5 months worth of results. You can see that the portfolio is up by 12.8%. And that is better than all four of those indexes that we've just looked at. The Nasdaq was up by 9.1%, S&P 500 only 7.6%, New York Stock Exchange 8.1%, and the FTSE 100 was the best performer, 11.4%, but that's still short of the 12.8% that I've achieved with the portfolio so far. Now, if you're interested in following how the portfolio gets on going forward and to see the list of the shares that have been picked for February because they've now been released, unfortunately, you will need to subscribe as a member either on YouTube, which costs £10 per month, or on Patreon. I'll put a link in the description below to both of those. So if you're interested in following how I'm doing, then you'll need to join up, or you can just wait until the end of February and see how the picks for February actually got on. But thank you for watching this video all the way through to the end, and I'll see you again on the next.